Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back. Welcome back. We got how much time we got? Oh, we got 6 minutes. 6 minutes to close. It's been a pretty big day on the value side. The Dow been very strong with Boeing still from really just the open, continuing that push towards the upside. Banks still on the downside, holding most of the market back. Especially when you look at the small cap side. Uh, Tech is a little bit all over the place. If we just take a look, since we have time here, when you're looking, S&P is right at the all-time high still. It's break even on the day, but growth is doing decent, mixed with value doing well in some areas down. It's just sort of a mixed bag of a day, right? Bit of a mixed bag. This is where when we pick individual tickers, we do very well on a day that just sort of trades flat. It's not really one direction. So things like when we trade specifically through the Dow, trading things like Boeing, trading industrials like X, things like Facebook that we've been trading, right? We do very well on a day like today. So, we look at any of these tickers, it's more of the same, and actually have been offered a lot of different opportunities on a lot of these. So, again, you don't always get like a Monday here where we trade X from here on the Thursday, and then you have a day like today where you can decide in the morning what you want to do. Again, most of the time here you're pushing this longer term, right? And then you're going to make a decision later. We don't guess tops around here. And so you have more chances. Facebook continuing here with the growth, Twitter along with that as well. Depending on these two together again, we sort of group some of the socials together. Otherwise, it is a mixed bag. There's nothing that really stands out in such a way that you would say, oh, okay, that was a clear opportunity today. There's some newer tickers, of course, that something like BW that I posted last night. MFGP continues from a couple days ago. So when you look at some of the newer tickers, there's the same trend that we've already been seeing. Things like ATVI that I just posted. Some of these were yes no trades. Most of the charts I posted last night, and I posted, I don't know, 30 of them. They're all almost all yes no trades. Oh, am I breaking the level? Am I bouncing on support? If it's yes, then you can buy it, right? Otherwise, there was nothing there. K has continued. Let me switch over to the other layout. K has continued. Pepsi has continued. This sort of food and beverage side of things that I've talked a lot about last week, sort of coming off the tail of transportation, distribution, started to do very well. And so when we look at these, again, these have been, there was a lot of different ways you could play this today. And so when we came onto the resistance here on Pepsi, talked about it earlier, you're just looking to make a decision, right? And again, this is a pretty clear one. You don't get a rejection. There's no rejection here. And so you keep pushing this position. You don't know when the position ends, right? Same with the K position here. And since they're continuing, that should also give continued bullishness. There's no reason to be exiting a lot of these positions. Not that it's not okay, again, to take profit, but as long as the decision's not being made on the, I've had a tough day, let me take profit on this trade to make myself feel better. It's never really a good strategy, right? So revenge trading, not a very good strategy. Otherwise, you have to really, you gotta love the Dow play here. Just offers protection, offers upside. We're going to continue to stick with this play. In terms of the growth side, I think we've captured pretty well. Here's the problem again of looking at the average. The average it just doesn't help. It's not what we're trading, and now we're getting into this kind of a weird place. And I talked about earlier where I think Brian said it earlier. He's not here right this second, but it's just all top heavy. And even when it's top heavy, we're still not getting the real number here. So when we look at the NASDAQ, again, it's kind of difficult to look at this number when some of the tickers we're trading are so far past it. There's only 5 of them that are down. 5 tickers out of all of them, 100 of them. So again, when you look at the S&P, we're at all-time high. There's a reason why I posted multiple leveraged ETFs of the S&P. We're right here at all-time high as we push there. Again, remember what happens when you push through all-time highs. No supply. You continue to the upside. The Dow is doing it right now. No reason not to believe it's going to continue. I would say today, overall, and we'll look at individual tickers after. Overall, today is certainly a bullish day, considering Thursday and Friday were major buy events. Major buy events. I mean, significant buying compared to the rest of the week. Over 2%. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. And so not to get a sort of a classic take profit day today certainly shows the bullishness in sort of the face of anxiety of block trades that, I mean, I don't know where there's still this idea that there might be a windfall of other things that we just don't know because it's so many weird derivatives that you're never gonna like find the exact end of the derivative of where it came from. We sort of already know from the major banks that they're not selling anymore. That's not something that would be hidden. So in my eyes, the anxiety is just, it's gone now. The anxiety was coming into the day, and as soon as we saw the price, that was it. Right, that was literally it. And so we'll see how that continues into the rest of the week. I would say, other than what we saw last week, most of that's gone. No investor's really gonna take that too to heart, right? Let's see what we get here. Pretty much break even close, tight spread. Anything on the radar? Don't see anything. Okay, what a day. What a day. I think the Facebook move here is certainly cute. In terms of managing this trade, I still think probably the best way to play this is to continue to look for that further upside. For instance, when we took the trade here, how do you exit this position, right? Somewhere in here, you're taking profit. Again, we talk about sort of 2 daily candles. We had the benefit here on this of having this tightening day. We talked about the inside day here. We were sort of set up by the whole market of seeing that. You're probably not going to get the same thing considering that this chart is on its own now, and it's not actually really with the rest of the tech side. So we'll see how this plays out, but it's definitely good that it has its own velocity again. It was breaking out first. There's certainly a demand for some of these growth tickers, and so there's no reason why we're not going to play the game, right? Be really a big day today. I know the candle doesn't look. This is the problem with the Dow tickers. It just looks like nothing happens. It literally looks like nothing happened on this chart. You look at that, it doesn't look like there's anything there. That's 2.5% on Boeing. That's a big day. So again, sort of the problem with some of these Dow tickers is they just don't look that exciting. But a really big day there. They had a big order go through or something. I don't know. It doesn't really change the fact of what the point of the trade is anyway. That helped with the rest of the whole sector, right? Whole sector was up. That looks a little bit better, but a bit more X's in there. Baba, Billy, sort of the whole China crowd sort of bounced back after some of the loss over on this side. TME was up 1% to close. It's hard to gauge. Again, this is all the block trading sell off. When you look at this candle, again, you look at the bullishness, you don't go bid unless there's some sort of expectation. And so I think when you look at this, I talked about it from this morning, that you had a chance to watch Asia's trading. And so TME opened up bullish, right? And then the day started getting going. When you look at that and put it into sort of a perspective, a lot of this trade has to do with Asia. A lot of this whole thing that we're talking about has to do with Asia. And so it's likely going to be now on Asia's side that we're going to be able to watch Asia's price action to see exactly how the market feels about exactly the situation. Because again, this closes 1% higher, but it shows a lot of bid. But then you go look at Viacom, Discovery, right? They basically close even when you think about it, right? They still posted a higher low. And so I would still say that, and then looking at Discovery, same thing. A little bit more bid there. When you put this with the TME, you put it with Bidu, you look at some of these trades. Again, there's sort of falls on Asia to pick up the pieces and say, okay, are we taking into consideration they got liquidated? Or are we gonna reestablish price? This was a pretty lax day. No one decided to do anything. No one actually traded much of anything. If you look at the volume, though, it looks like the whole fucking market traded it, right? And so it really begs the question of how many trades are here? This was 50 million. 20, that's twice the average today. No price movement. No price movement, twice the average. Break even. Viacom, I know, has like the most of the day. Viacom has 171 million volume today. It must be the most today, right? It's got to be the most today. Okay, besides penny stocks. There you go. Okay, so it has the most for its price, right? TME the other, but again, twice the price of that. So it makes sense. You look at it though, it barely moved. And so again, what's going on here? Well, we have some shares being traded, but what's really going on here? There's a bunch of calls being bought. There's a bunch of calls being bought. Is anyone buying puts down here? No one's buying puts down here. So again, we're going to walk into this place that it's going to get set up by Asia, because when these prices come in, this is where it came from. And so that's where it's going to start again. Here's the problem with these trades is that if there is going to be a price move, it's not going to happen intraday. It's not like this where the selling is happening intraday because US banks are selling that shit off and block trades all day, right? This shit's going to happen after hours, pre-market. It's going to be really exciting to see because, again, it sort of seemed like today people were still waiting for something to happen when nothing was going to happen. And so maybe, again, it's not, I don't know, right? I don't know. But institutions would know, and they didn't do anything. So they're playing a bit of a game of chicken. I highly doubt there's not dark pools full of this shit right now. I'm just gonna be honest with you. There's just literally no way that there's not big dark pool orders full block trades going the other way, buying this. Because again, somebody was buying this. Somebody was buying it, and somebody got a fucking awesome price. It's important because this doesn't happen every day. And so think about the money that was lost here, right? This hedge fund gets margin called. They have to sell off, liquidate the whole thing. So Morgan and Goldman Sachs sell off all of this dude's shit, right? Well, someone's buying it. Somebody is getting that. It's a block trade. It's not like the whole thing goes to the exchange. No, someone's getting a price for this, right? It's not like the whole thing just hits the exchange and then we all rope ourselves. And so same thing down here. When this doesn't move, and I've talked about this before, we don't really see it often. When you see this much volume, but the price barely moved today, you can go in there and just look, right? If there's this much volume and there's barely any movement, that's because there's big old dark pool trades that are just getting sent to, again, they're not getting sent to the exchange. It'll get processed and get thrown over here in terms of volume after the fact, but it's not during the moment. So some of these, I wonder if we can see it. Okay, let's see. It's hard to see with that volume candle in there. You can't really see it. You can't really see it. So I was going to say is sometimes you'll get one of these candles. You'll get one of these candles in here. And if you bring it down, you get one of these candles in here that has just a significant amount of volume. And then the candle has done literally nothing because it was all for the same price. And that's how, again, that's how a dark pool would work is that, okay, here's the average price. How many shares you want? You want 10 million shares? Okay, there you go. Here's what your average is. It's going to be 45.75, okay? And then it will get sent to the exchange after that transaction's done, and you'll see it on the exchange. Sometimes TradingView doesn't show it. Sometimes you'll see it on like TOS. Sometimes IB will show you. You don't really know until the next day, and then you'll see it. But again, the volume being here, just look at the two. I mean, it's straightforward, right? Everyone knows that there's people playing the game, right? People playing the game. So it's going to be really on Asia, again, to see what exactly happens here. And I would say with TME and BDU and everything, we'll use those as a sort of a gauge on it. If there's nothing tomorrow, then the whole thing, there is no windfall. So today was a really interesting day. I'm going to point this out. It doesn't look like there's anything here. And again, this is completely only correlated to the downside. We haven't seen any spikes in relation to the spot VIX besides when the S&P goes down. And it goes down in basically an equal manner. Today we actually saw the spot VIX climb without the S&P going down from this entire thing, which is really interesting because we have not seen this recently whatsoever. So if you compare this again to the S&P, there's some pricing in somehow again of this volatility that we're not getting on a betting side, right? You look over here and we're still just trending down, and so spot VIX is growing in volatility. This is what is supposed to happen, right? This is what's supposed to happen. And again, that's why I talk about it's almost like basically buying treasuries, the yield you get for going against volatility, because everyone is just on the opposite side of volatility, right? That's the whole point of us always trending to the upside, is that there's volatility in the future, but there's never volatility right now. For whatever reason, that's how we do it, right? And so I talk about how there's basically the yield of a treasury, right? You could get a better yield from buying any bonds. And so seeing this today should at least bring us back to a little bit of reality. There's a little bit of human nature in here, because there isn't on any of the volume trades, right? There's literally there's nothing there, because it's just algos that trade there all day, right? UVixy is literally just algos trading all day, just doing nothing. And so this was nice to see. I'm just curious because I want to see what it looks like tomorrow if nothing does come of this whole thing. Because if it comes down tomorrow, then it's working. This is like a little bit of anxiety and fear that there might be a windfall. This is some tail risk, right? Tail risk that there might be something. And if tomorrow nothing happens, well, then the volatility will come down, whether the market's up or down, right? But if the market's down, but we're not seeing something in relation to this event, and then this is going up, then there's something, again, we're just getting correlated to the downside again. And so that's what we don't want to see. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But we would like to see some sort of volatility. It helps with options. We basically run on IV, and that's it. And I don't mean IVs as in you're hungover, but you know what I'm saying, implied volatility. So it's going to be interesting tomorrow, because I don't think we really did much today on you can look at banks. What's the bank selling on this event? Is this going to get repriced? Some of these again is like just anxiety selling. So we definitely want to see that get maybe changed up tomorrow. If not, then okay, there might be some risk involved that banks know about. And so again, there's a problem to be solved, but there may not even be a problem. And so we're looking to see if there is a problem, and then if it needs to be solved in terms of some sort of tail risk. At the moment, it's important to realize that, okay, something happened, but until we see that there's an actual problem, we're not gonna price it. We always have some sort of tail risk that something can happen, sure, but the thing is right now is that we already saw it resolve, and so now we need to see that there's an actual problem. As of now, there shouldn't be. Nobody knows the math behind those swaps anyway, so I mean, it's not like the market's going to solve it. So it's just whether there's going to be a problem or not, right? All right, some other tickers. Let's just talk about energy really quick. The canal got unblocked, so of course the energy prices went down, right? I mean, we're going to have more supply again. Who knows? Again, the canal got unblocked. There was no. I mean, you can try to make a case. But it looks like there was less volatility today. So again, you can see some elevated volatility due to an event, and we just continue to trend the same way. It is a little interesting that crude finished up on the day, and then when you look at the actual energy side, this is sort of down. And considering that value did well today, those things are not very connected. So again, there's like this tie to banks being down. Some of these are just take profits. We had a very big day on Friday and from Thursday. So what do we chalk it up to? We chalk it up to some take profits from two big buy events, right? That's literally what it is, right? There's no volatility in this candle when you look in there. So at the end of the day, look, it's basically traded flat. This is just take profit from Friday's large gain, right? That's all it comes down to. And so that should be interesting to see, because again, we're looking for trend out of here. It's a trend right now. When you consider where the Dow is, this is pushing back into all-time high. S&P pushing into all-time high. we have a really strange opening place where we're opening up, and so there might be some chances to get some of those breakout buys. All those charts I posted last night, it's important to probably find some of those because some of those are going to be right at the cusp of resistance, and you're not getting support buys. Today would have been support buy. I mean, Thursday and Friday were certainly support buys, but from charts from the weekend, support buy tomorrow is really a resistance break kind of day, if that's what the day is going to be. These are usually just yes no trades. Are we breaking resistance? Yeah, we're breaking it. So then you take the trade, right? How do you get out of that trade? If it then breaks that, so that resistance becomes support, you get stopped out at that support if it breaks down from there, right? And almost all of this is going to happen at open. If nothing happens there after open, then you get stopped out during lunch, whatever it is, right? That's just how the will, that's how it's going to be. In terms of how many of those, again, it's going to be all determined by pre-market action. It's the fact that we had such a bullish day today, it doesn't mean that we're going to have a bullish day tomorrow, but the fact that so much of the market didn't have a take profit day, I think does lend to the fact that it does sort of repeat itself in that way. It's going to come on Asia. If you look, this is, if anyone knew really where this is going, you could make a lot of money. That's the reality, because this was so bullish. It was so bullish. And even when our growth side wasn't doing very well, this was very bullish. And so what exactly is going on here? That's kind of the question, because again, if this is going to come up, we already saw it in some of the Chinese tickers on the New York Stock Exchange, then those are trades that will pay significantly. I mean, it's just you're betting on a few tickers that encompass the entire market. And again, we've sort of lost touch with what is going on the Asian markets, and I don't think anyone knows there. There's so many things about regulation. Whenever there's any price events because of regulations, again, Chinese government trying to stop just Chinese companies from being on the exchange and do certain things, that usually leads to inaccurate prices, and usually then leads to some violent price action one way or the other. We see to the downside. Are they really going to stop these companies from doing what they do? Is China really going to let go of the whole ability to be a global player? I just find it really hard to believe that when they're so close. Again, over here, we're talking about the Hang Seng itself. Not even thinking of, again, Hong Kong is separate from China, but just thinking of the Hang Seng itself. This was seeing significantly more volume than London in all of the European markets. All of them. This was the other market. So besides the US exchange, the Hang Seng is the market. It's not even close. Like, it's literally not even close. I think I said Hang Seng has like 5 times the volume of London. I mean, it's just not even close. So when it comes down to it, this is such a big part of the global marketplace now in terms of equities. This drove a lot of US demand, and we know that China is fucking massive on the New York Stock Exchange and is a big part of the equity market. So again, it just doesn't, none of it really adds up other than just the government pushing price down. So if we can figure out this bet, then I still think this is where sort of the road leads, and where the problem in the question is, because for the market to continue, you need all equity markets to continue, and I don't see our growth market going back to all-time high if the Hang Seng doesn't, because they are the same damn thing. They have to coexist, right? They have to coexist because for our tech companies to be big, China's tech companies need to be big, because they're the same fucking thing, right? They're literally the same thing. And so this is sort of the moment. It is sort of the moment here, because it's sort of like on our growth side. When you look at the Nasdaq, if we're not going to do it, like I'm saying, if we're not going to break out to the upside here and break this consolidation that everyone can see it, everyone feels it, if we're not going to break out here, then we're just going to be hanging out here for a long time, and value is just going to keep going. we're going to go through inflation. The money's just going to keep going to one side. We're in the Dow trade. We're in the value trade. We're here. We're pushing this trade. We're looking for it. But this is sort of, again, an important sort of time for Hang Seng to get going, Nasdaq to get going. We just saw some pretty big moves. Again, there might be some people really over leveraged on the tech side. So this is something to also think about if there's over leverage on just these kind of, they don't really have much connection, and they were not big. We're not really talking about that large of capital. If this is not going to continue, then there is a lot of leverage betting on this to continue. So what happens to all the SPACs? What happens to, all of these sort of tail risk sort of events? It's just hard to believe that any of that's going to really happen, right? That's just a lot of money that is sitting around expecting growth. If the growth is not going to come here, okay, value continues. But there's a point at which it needs to get going. Otherwise, people remove long positions. This is barely any removal of long positions. Look at this. It's barely any removal, maybe 10%. There's barely any outflow here. It's a lot of points, but not very much outflow. This here is just sort of a sitting and waiting. So I would say, when you look at these moves, I would say Hang Seng's going to be critical, especially with what we just saw, because, again, that's volatility that needs to be, it needs to be dealt with. And it does stem from this side of things. I mean, that's the reality. So I want to see some aggressive Asia trading this week, I would say. I'm not saying like today, tomorrow, the next day. I'm just saying by the whole week, I want to see some green and some aggressive trading, and maybe some of those companies that are also on the US side getting some bid and showing support of it, for myself to keep trying to preempt this growth trade. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave all the money in the fucking value trade and go back to bed, right? That's the dream. But we want to be making money. So this will be the problem to solve. The most recent thing we got with the block trades definitely makes it spicier. So we'll look for that. Again, Billy, we look at these charts. This is the chart we're looking at, right? Something like Billy, Bidu. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I think there was definitely reasons to take these trades. So we'll keep pushing them. Otherwise, again, guys, we're basically all value still, specifically on the larger cap side now with the Dow. Whether or not growth comes back or yields go up, yields went up again today. Whether the dollar goes up, it doesn't really change anything because spending is still going to happen, and so that whole side of the equity market is still going to happen, right? That's the end. That's the end of that. Let's take a look at profit. We'll get out of here. Brian with the minus 30. Didn't really trade. Tried Twitter and smacked after trying to buy the pullback. During lunch, he said. Interesting. Interesting how he lost on that one. All right, we'll give him the minus 30 there. He said learning a lot, though. Okay. C trader with the minus 568. Pushing the positions. I like the sound of that. Spoon with the minus 3%. Longs pushing as well. I wonder if those are Viacom and Discovery positions. Anybody down here pushing still? Diamond hands out of their mind? But guys, what if it gaps up tomorrow? It gaps up 30%. Spoon says he does have Discovery. What an absolute legend. Me too. Me too. It was only 1.5%, so I figured I'd at least try my chances of tomorrow. I'm down the same as I was. I'm down the same as I was on Friday. I was minus 6 and then up 6 and then finished plus 2 and now I'm minus 6 again going into tomorrow. But tomorrow will definitely be my decision day, because if you don't at least post a higher low again, you would need to post a higher high for sure. I mean, I guess there's situations where you get like some sort of upside bar, but it should basically be opening 10% higher, or we open somewhere, and if it doesn't immediately go skyrocketing to the upside, then I'm out of the position. So that's how I would deal with that situation tomorrow, because, again, this either happens right now or it's going to consolidate and chill, and then we can just capture the move anyway, right? If it's going to sit here for a few days, then you don't need to be in a position. You can just You're literally just wasting time at that point, right? So we'll look tomorrow and see if any of those sort of good things for the position happen. If not, we exit the position. And once this consolidates in some sort of form, which again, this is pretty tight right here. So I don't know how much more it can tighten here. It's going to have to be some sort of real true consolidation, right? It's going to take like a week or something. Then we can enter it on a breakout if we're going to say, okay, this price is just wrong, so we're heading back to the upside. But that's going to take time. So looking for tomorrow, and again, everything I said about China is basically going to determine this whole thing, I would say. I mean, I would say that they are 100% the one. No one did anything here today, unless there's a bunch of dark pool orders that already filled up all the sort of what's out there for liquidity. Then they basically have the first stab at it. So I would say we're looking to that. So it's going to be really interesting to see that price action. In terms of charts today, I'm not really sure. I posted a lot over the weekend. It's actually funny. I didn't find any weekly charts. Those of you wondering, I didn't find one weekly chart. So I just found a bunch of daily charts. So we'll see if this week we get any weekly charts. It's just due to the way that we sort of flowed. There's not usually you find like a weekly flag or something. Nothing. So it's just basically where we are. Otherwise, tonight probably not many charts. There's just not much price movement today. Low trading day. So short-term patterns. We'll see what we get. That's what I've got for you, folks. Enjoy your night, your evening, your morning, wherever you are. I'll see you in the morning. So have a good one.